baby, but if you put the actual work, it's nothing in comparison. The sacrifices of sleep, health, and exercise goes all the way down. You have to be stable and prepared, and if not, you can end up hurting the child because you are not happy. The child can grow to have anxiety, depression, and even go as far as suicide, and so can the mother. The argument of abortion is a moral argument, which is the subject to personal interpretation, so should not be legislated against. Those who see it morally are allowed and should be provided with the means to do so. Those who don't believe in abortion should have the choice not to have an abortion. This is always a problem with society, that we always see what's best for someone else, or we decide what's best for someone else when we should be focusing on ourselves. Why should I be affected by what a woman is just because it's not something I don't want to do? And if you don't want to do it, you are not being forced to have an abortion. So why are you going against someone else who is deciding that? And it's not something wrong. We humans, we're selfish, to be honest. And we always think that we know what's best for everyone around us. And it's not true. If we focus on ourselves, if we focus on what's best for us, it would be a better environment for everyone, because everyone is focusing on what's best for them, health and financially. And if we just stop worrying about what other people are doing just because you're not agreeing with it, we would definitely have a better environment, and people would choose not to be ashamed of what they're doing just because it's simply not even wrong. A woman's right to have an abortion is a fundamental right. Personhood begins at birth, not at conception. Most people don't educate themselves on a topic, and not just this one. The main argument against abortion is that it is murder. But how can you kill something that is not even alive? A fetus is not legally or scientifically a person or human being. So abortion cannot be equated to murder. A fetus is like a brain dead person with no self-awareness or conscience. So it is actually dead. There isn't always access to all birth controls, and they aren't always 100% reliable. Women need a doctor's prescription to obtain many birth control methods, such as the pill, the patch, the shot, and the diaphragm. Have you noticed that most of the contraceptives that I just listed are female contraceptives? Just like many things, contraceptives are aimed also at women. Men do have contraceptives, but not as much as women. The condom is the most popular one, but it's still not 100% effective. Hence why women also take the birth control pill. There was once a male pill, and probably still is, and was tested. It stopped males from producing sperm for a while. But the feeling of change in their bodies did not approve for them. But women pills are even worse because they mess and they change the menstrual cycle. Something men don't have. Sounds selfish to me, but I'm not surprised. This comes to my other point. How is it that a man is deciding what a woman should do with her body? Let's be honest. Most of the presidents and people in government are males. Once again, I'm not surprised. Since most men are the head of the country, they are deciding what is best for a woman. The roles of men are very different from the roles of a woman. Yes, times are changing, and men are now doing and participating more in the family, but that is not the case for all. If a woman got pregnant, a man most likely who does not want to be involved simply takes off. And we all have heard this story, let's be honest. But sure, now times are different and laws are changing. A man must pay child support, but still doesn't have to be involved, leaving a woman the job of raising a child by herself. So why is it that when all of this has been happening, and still is happening, by the way, they decide that suddenly they care about a woman having a child? And even if they do, it's still not their place. We are not implying that men can't have a say in this, because they are the ones that also made half of the baby. So they should have the opportunity to speak up on what they think. But they are not pushing the baby out of their vaginas. They're not having the breast sucked out of their life and having mental and physical responsibilities of carrying a baby in their bodies. So then, no. Once again, a woman's right to have an abortion is a fundamental right. Personhood starts at birth and not at contraception. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the second speaker of the opposing team, please.
Hello. Hello. I'm Kaita. Abortion shouldn't be illegal. A lot can go wrong with abortion since there's so many risks to doing an abortion. There's so many alternatives such as adoption. There are 4 types of adoption. The first one is closed adoption. In a closed adoption, you have no contact with the child or the adopted family once you give birth and place the child for adoption. Then open adoption. In an open adoption, this allows you to keep in touch with the child's adopted family and get updates about the child. In a direct placement adoption, you can choose the adopted family yourself. And in an adoptive agency, they will find the child in need of adoption. And the truth is, placing your child for adoption is always less risk and less expensive than having an abortion. Plus, with the help of science, we have contraceptives to help pregnancy and abortion. The contraceptives to use, some can even help prevent sexually transmitted infections, such as STIs. There are even more permanent ways, like having a woman's fallopian tube tied, or one can get a vasectomy surgery. Plus, if you think of it, if abortion was legal everywhere, you guys wouldn't have one good friend. There's so many options than just going towards abortion.
Thank you. All right, the third speaker of the proposing team.
Consequences if abortion is not legalized. If abortion doesn't become legalized, there are a lot of effects that can occur, a lot of results. And with Jamaica not having certain medical equipment, will we be able to handle what happens? If abortion is not legalized, then people will go to different lengths and measures to make this process occur. This is called illegal abortion. Illegal abortion is usually an unsafe abortion. This takes place when an individual is trying to terminate a pregnancy by doing dangerous practices or without the proper credentials, skills, and abilities present to carry out this process. For example, let's say a woman decides to have an abortion, but doesn't do so the proper ways. They drink different herbs, medicines that were recommended by others. The fact of the matter is, we all have different bodies, which means we react differently to what we put into our bodies. If this woman was to have an allergic reaction to something in these remedies, what will happen to her? What type of health issues can occur because of this? That leads me to my next point. When doing an unsafe abortion, this can lead to multiple health problems, which includes hemorrhage, sepsis, infections, genital trauma, necrotic bowel. These health problems can be deadly if not treated immediately and correctly. Now, my question to you is, what if they weren't treated? What if it was too late for a doctor to solve these problems? What if it was too late? Okay, that would be another death, another person who increases the death rate in Jamaica, another family who has to mourn and suffer the loss of a loved one. Now, an unsafe abortion can affect the chances of women getting pregnant again. Serious uterine injury, bowel injury, and severe infections are common complications of illegal abortion that could affect future fertility by scarring the uterus and or the fallopian tubes. Scarring occurs in inflamed tissues after it slowly heals. Scarring tissues can be cyclic pelvic pain or menstrual blood getting trapped in the uterine. It can also cause recurrent pregnancy loss or inability to conceive. Most women would need hysterectomy to treat these complications of unsafe abortion, and having an hysterectomy will lead to a woman also losing their fertility. To avoid future infertility and to make it safer and healthier for women, abortion should be legalized. And my last point is, how does religion affect decision-making in abortion? Now, religion plays a big role in our country, simply because majority of the people living in Jamaica are Christians. Because of belief in God, for Christians, human life is sacred and is a gift from God, which is to be respected and protected. The teaching is called the sanctity of life. Human beings are created in the image of God. It also teaches that murder is forbidden. Jesus reminded his followers that each person is precious to God. As I stated previously, human life is sacred and that murder is forbidden. According to a scientific source from Google, the fetus is considered life at 16 weeks, which means that having an abortion under 16 weeks is not murder because it is not considered a life. Jamaicans aren't fully educated on this information, which causes a lack of judgment about it. So they shut down the idea of it. There is no awareness of this, so it creates a bad picture on the situation. If the people believe that it is bad, then it would cause havoc. When if awareness was brought to it, they would see it from a different light and understand why abortion should be legalized. This is an ongoing debate there is an ongoing debate happening about this topic in Jamaica. I think it is unnecessary because a woman should have a choice in what happens to their body. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take the rebuttal from the proposing team. Oh, I mean, this is a proposing team's third speaker. Oh, so now the opposing team third speaker. Yes, go ahead, please. Nikazi, not hearing you. Not hearing.
Okay, can you hear me better?
Yes, hearing, no.
The opponents agreement to further clarify or opposition to the move. It is proven that abortion can cause such harmful, irreversible effects such as weakening increasing the risk of deliveries. According to Compass,
Nikazi there, you're breaking up terribly.
can you
We're hearing, but you're breaking up badly.
okay, can you hear me better?
Hearing, but you're breaking up. Let's try it. Go ahead. Let's see what's going to happen.
Okay. My worthy opponents, allow me a moment to further clarify our opposition to the move. It is proven that abortion can cause such harmful, irreversible
Nikki, you're still breaking up.
A 2013 Canadian study found that women who have had abortions are more than twice as likely to have a very early term child. The risks were 71% higher at 28 weeks and 45% higher at 32 weeks. So you can see how life-threatening some of the side effects are. It is better to prevent this from happening to other women. Contraceptives are one of the most common and effective ways to prevent abortions. Performing safe sex by using condoms, birth control pills, and birth control injections. Allow me to further elaborate. Approximately 8 million more women per year suffer post-abortion complications that can lead to short or even long-term consequences, including anemia, prolonged weakness, chronic inflammation of the reproductive tract, and secondary infertility. According to World Health Organization, unsafe abortion is the cause of 70,000 maternal deaths each year, or 1 in 8 pregnancy-related deaths among women. In Guatemala, for example, where 37% of the population lives on less than $2 a day, the estimated cost of a legal abortion carried out by a private medical doctor or in a private medical clinic ranges between $128 and $1,026. In Uganda, where 97% of people in Uganda live on less than $2 a day, the price of an abortion from a professional source is $6 to $58. And in fact, 66% live on less than $2 a day. The average fee for doctor-assisted abortion is $50 to $104. I am arrested.
All right, thank you, Nikazi. All right, rebuttal from the first team.
Okay, Miss. Before I continue with my rebuttal, I do want to point out some of the points that my opponents mentioned. One was unsafe abortion. Have you ever thought that maybe the reason why people are doing unsafe abortions is because in their country there aren't safe abortions? And maybe the cost of abortions has to do because not many countries allow it. So since it's at the end of the day, medical things are still a business. Doctors and nurses and hospitals, everything is a business. But let's be honest, they don't do it because they technically care, but because it's a business. So they're trying to take money out of you. But maybe the reason why abortion is so expensive in some parts is because it's not everywhere. That is just like marketing and any other product. If there's less companies of it, it's going to be higher because the value is bigger. So it's a bigger value, and because it's not something that's found everywhere, you're not going to be able, it's going to be a higher price because it's known as more unique. So maybe that's the reason for the cost of abortion. And abortion is not the only medical thing that is very expensive. Surgeries of cancer and other medical stuff are also very, very expensive. And I don't see anyone doing a debate on the cost of that. So I don't believe that the cost should technically be a point on why abortion shouldn't be legal. Second, adoption. Adoption is a big problem. If we decide to not have abortions and to not plan just because there's a plan B of adoption or putting them in an orphanage, yes, there are several people who can't have a baby or who want a baby, but that still doesn't add up, because if that was the case, I doubt we would have orphanages right now. But if you do the numbers, there are many orphanages in many countries. So having a plan B and making it go for adoption is not responsible, and it's not effective. And we've seen that it's not effective. And one more is contraceptives. Yes, we are not implying that just because abortion is to be legal, that we should stop having contraceptives. That is not, because contraceptives aren't just used to prevent pregnancies, but they're used so that we don't so people don't have STDs and other infections. So even when abortion should be legal, at all costs, we should always use contraceptives, and that should be something that should be taught from high school so that everyone is educated on the importance of it. Now to
Juliet,
quickly read my rebuttal. Yes, miss?
just a second. Nikazi raised her hand with a point of information, so you need to accept.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't miss. I'm sorry, I didn't see miss. Yes, Nikazi?
Regarding to what you're saying about the amount of unsafe abortion and the cost of abortion, how are we going to combat that by lowering prices? Remember, it costs a lot of money, $120 for somebody who lives on $2 a day in Pakistan and Europe. When they have that money up to full term and is not able to terminate their pregnancy, because remember, at 8 to 6, the heart starts to beat. And when a heart beats, that's a human life that matters. And as Rana was saying in her rebuttal statement, her third speech about the significance that religion plays abortion in Jamaica, especially, that every life matters, every life God puts on this. I know the point of sexual assault is gonna come up, yes, but not every reason why a woman has an abortion is because of sexual assault. Some women just make a mistake. Some of them knew it was gonna happen. They were careless and were like, can't get an abortion, $50 no. Yeah, I get that. But morally, you said we need to care about everybody and, be a country as one, be a world as one, and care for each other. How are we going to be caring for each other when we are giving women such access to hurting their bodies in the process of killing a child? Is that morally correct? Remember, wait, I'm not fully finished. Remember, say for example, you born 2005, parents got pregnant and they were like, oh crap, abortion is just down the street. All right, I'm gonna get the abortion quick and come back and life good. You would be today. I have a friend. You get it? So having such loose laws about abortion is not morally correct. Too much of one thing is not good for anybody. Finished.
Thank you. And that was actually a really good point. I'm not going to lie. The thing is that what I really, really appreciate what Nikazi said is that it made me open another part where, let's be honest, I can't say that there's nothing wrong with abortion, because that's not true. Everything has a bad side to it. Everything has a side that we say, okay, but the problem with humans in every situation, not just abortion, is that we take everything for granted. And that is a big issue, not just in abortion. Most people who, for example, let's say, like what I stated earlier, you drove drunk. Well, if I crash my car, I have insurance. Does that mean you have to crash your car? No. But we humans, we think like this, and it's something that is so wrong because we take everything for advantage. I was going to say that abortion is just like any other procedure. So if only humans, we could really think about it properly, I don't think abortion would be a problem right now. I see where Nikazi is going, that about the money, but also that's why I'm implying that contraceptives should be something taught at as early as high school, and we shouldn't be implying either that sex is not something that it's not something that should be said in a way, in a negative way, because it's not. And I'm sure most of the adults here can agree. But what I am saying is practicing sex safe is it's something that we should be teaching from a very young age as to high school, as to where they're knowledgeable. Because abortion, you can't stop it. That's the thing. We can't go back anymore. Whether it's legal or not, it's going to be done. Abortion is going to be done whether it's legal or not. And the fact that it's not legal, it's going to be done even more unsafe. Yes, some people don't have the money to have an abortion and they live off $2, like Nikadi said. But then it's just, if you put it in another situation, it's the same thing. If you were to be sick or you have cancer, those same people still can't afford that. I'm sorry, give Nikadi 1 minute. Okay. Those same people can't afford that. So I believe that we can't just say, oh, abortion shouldn't be done because it's not affordable for everyone. But then if we're to debate on this, then we should debate on so many other things, so many other types of so many other types of operations. Cancer, I'm sure everyone here is aware of how expensive cancer treatments are. So yes, things are expensive. And I do believe it has to do also with the fact that it's not available everywhere. And I do agree with Nikazi on the fact that not everyone is able to have it. But then if we were to debate on that, we should be debating on everything. Before, I don't want to take up the time of the fourth speaker of the opposing team. So I'm just going to quickly do my rebuttal. So we have been discussing almost every aspect of abortion, from its history to its...
Julie, you can decide if you accept or decline. Because you raise your hand again, so you have an option. You can accept or decline.
It's 11:23. I mean, Nikazi, it's up to you. So if you're, I'm just doing it because of your fourth speaker. But if it's enough time for you, it's fine. You can speak. I have no problem.
Oh yeah, I just like 2 seconds. When you're talking about I had my Wi-Fi went away, but what I heard was you're talking about insurance and if you get into a car accident and those stuff. I also heard that in your second speech you're talking about kidney and regular body transplants. There is way more to it than just going to the hospital with your organ falling out and being like, oh, give me a heart. You know, you have to test for blood. You have to test, especially during COVID vaccinations, you have to be vaccinated to get a new organ because it can mess up your whole system. And so does abortion. You're not fully sure how abortion is going to affect a female's body. And even though pregnancy, you're not sure how it's going to affect a female body, there's more evidence and more time upon time and know how to deal with a woman who has gone into cardiac arrest or something after giving birth. With abortion, no, it's kind of a broad scale where it's like she could either bleed a little bit like a period, or she could bleed to death. And you're not sure how to tie up in there because, you know, it's the inside of the vulva. So there's way more to it than just going into hospital and being like, oh, let me just go get a new organ. It's a lot of layers upon layers that people aren't taught because of the education system, sexual education. Nobody is taught about condoms, contraceptives. I just found out how bad contraceptives affect your body while doing this project, you know? So we need to have a broader scale of sexual education. Even though it's considered taboo, it should still be taught so that we can prevent unwanted abortions.
Yes, and I totally agree with you 100% there. That's one of the biggest issues that, just like Nikadi said, even though back in the days also it's represented as taboo, as she mentioned, it's not something that should be stopped from teaching us, because if you stop from teaching us at a young age, you're implying that it's a negative thing, and it's not, because if it's a positive, it's the reason why we're all in this classroom right now. So yes, I do agree with that part. And the thing about a debate is that I am going to be honest. I do go for abortion personally, but I'm not saying that everything is perfect about it. And I'm sure Nikazi agrees with me and the other teams. Like anything else, it's not perfect, and it's not something that is just totally right, because everything has a right and a wrong to it. But I do believe it to be better. And if we humans can come together and understand each other and educate ourselves, then we can definitely make abortion work. Now to quickly finish my rebuttal. We have been discussing almost every aspect of abortion, from its history to the current worldview on it, especially focusing on the view of the Caribbean people and how they affect abortion being legal. Discussing the legalization of abortion on how it affects society, mental health, and the environment does not even take it in consideration that it's taking away the right of half of the world population to their own rights, meaning women, bodies, lives, mental state, and future, just like it has done for most of history and continues to do so. The amount of consequences stating leading to mental health, financial issues, and malpractices of abortion, complications which can lead to severe complications and even death. Oppression from religious institutions have sit into every aspect of life and history, hindering women's right most severely. Men stating what a woman should do with her body is by far the biggest issue. From the power they hold in their positions have affected the voice of women on deciding how they plan to do their families. This is absurd opinions coming from people who don't even have a uterus, has affected a woman's voice and choice. Abortion should be part of a country's contraception policy. People should plan their families, and society must allow women to end unwanted pregnancies in order to deal with failures of birth control. Do we have the right to force a mother to keep a baby solely because she consented to participate in these sexual activities? Why do we have to take away the rights of not having a baby simply because she is able to have one? Abortion should be legal. Legal simply because it's a choice, and what goes inside or what grows inside of your body is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll take the rebuttal from the opposing team.
Good day, everyone, and I am here to read the rebuttal speaker. Okay, first, my number one question would be, what would you do if you or a loved one was in the situation of being pregnant but wants to carry the baby? You would be on a one-sided, family. Imagine one side of the family pressuring you to abort the child, but the mother wants to keep the child. That will be a problem. 2, why do you feel the need to abort? Sorry, miss. Why do you feel the need that abortion should be legalized if there are so many procedures you can do to avoid it? Your second speaker had said something about what's best for someone and people are deciding for people. I do not believe that we are making the decisions for people, but we all know that having an abortion will break you mentally and emotionally. To even know that even if you didn't want the child in your life, but you still had made life, and that is one of the most, I would say that would be a blessing for everyone. Even to look at, I think they call them a mule, females that can't have a baby. Even to look at it from that perspective, 35% of our world would like that and would like to have a baby. So imagine taking a life from someone, not keeping it and getting rid of it. you are still going to suffer from a mental and emotional breakdown. It doesn't matter whether or not you wanted the child. Did you know having an abortion not only breaks you, but it damages you inside and out? What if you were placed in a situation? Would you have an abortion knowing the consequences? Obviously, you you are not sure because your third speaker had made such a big point and stated the consequences. But imagine legalizing this and more people die than being fruitful, which goes against the religious beliefs. Um, Third speaker had said as well, overpopulated. In a religious defense, according to the Bible says it doesn't say anything about population control. Instead, humans are told to be fruitful and multiply. Genesis 1, verse 22, chapter 28, and Psalms 127, verse 3 to 5 tells us that our children are heritage from the Lord and that the fruit the fruit of the womb is a reward from him. 31.11% of our popularity is Christian, and that is the highest rate of percentage. So then more people believe in abortion being illegalized. And if we were supposed to make a world vote, then I am sure abortion would be illegalized. And it wouldn't be forcing a female to be. Sorry, miss. It wouldn't be the fact that you are forcing a female to carry the baby when you could have done a lot, when you could have taken the precaution to avoid this from happening. But there are a lot of ways you can figure this out, and I am sure you can. Adoption is a very wide point that we spread on, because instead of aborting the child, you can give the child to someone who actually wants a child. For example, a mule, someone who can't have a child and would love to even have a child, to bless their eyes on a child. And I'm thinking that's taken away from the world's treasure. For example, as Nkazi was speaking on the fact of having a child would be in a blessing. For example, I know this person, and this is actually a cliffhanger. Who knows if the child could have changed someone's life? Who knows if the child would be the next big thing? Who knows if the child would change the world? And this was actually one-sided family. The female side of the family wanted to keep the child and raise the child. The male side of the family didn't own up to the child, and so then they wanted to have an abortion. But they strongly went against the abortion, and so until this day, the child is still living and making her decisions on whether or not she wants to become something big in life. And I promise you that you're going to have to wait, because this is your cliffhanger, and I am that child, so I know for a fact I am going to make a change in this world. Miss, I'm finished. I can't hear you, by the way.
All right, thank you, Purity. I see. All right, we're way over time. It's now 11:34. I'm seeing some hands raised, but we're way over time. I'm not sure if the students have a class following. So students, this is what I will do. I must say thank you all. I am extremely proud of you all. You all came out and represented, some of you out of your comfort zones, because I know most of you sometimes don't like speaking up, but it was really good. You did your research. So tomorrow I'll allow the judges to meet and discuss, and then tomorrow before we start our individual presentations, we will I'll go through what happened and give you the score, and of course say why the opposing or the proposing team was the one that is victorious. But I must say once again, I'm extremely proud of you. You really came out and you represented. I'm lost for words. I mean, you guys really I'm so proud. I'm like a proud parent, not even a teacher. All right. Thank you so much, students. Please get to your next class if you have one. I don't want to keep you late, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye, Miss. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Really
Thank you,
enjoyed this
students.
assignment. Bye.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
class.
Bye, miss.
Bye, students.
Bye, miss.